He's speeding off his nut, you know, trying to get this job, but not get the job. It's just hilarious.
What exactly attracts you to the leisure industry? In a word, pleasure. It's like my pleasure and other people's leisure.
We shot it over and over and over and over and over again for probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 hours, maybe 8 hours.
Spud had done well. I was proud of him. He fucked up good and proper. You had to hand it to Spud.
Spud's interview was just like... It was so amazing. And you realised, certainly, you realised you'd made the right decision casting in.
One character the team found hard to cast was Begbie. In fact, everything about him was hard.
Begbie didn't do drugs either. He just did people. That's what he got off on. His own sensory addiction.
It was very clear in the book and in the script that he was a mate because he was just too frightening not to be your mate.
Ah, lassie got blasted. No cunt leaves here till we find out what cunt did it. Who the fuck are you? Yeah! Oh!
Originally we had this idea that Begbie would be a big bully, you know, a dominant physical guy, really, that people were frightened of.
And then we saw Bobby in the Jimmy McGovern Cracker episode of Legendary Skinhead.
Here's your 4p.
It was his role as a serial killer that convinced everyone Robert Carlyle was Begbie. He'd worked with Peter Mullen before in Riff Raff, and with Ewan McGregor in Bill Forsyth's Being Human. Everything fitted.
Bobby, who knew intimately some really tough guys, said often these guys, you know, are quite small and they've got a lot to prove, and they prove it. You know, it's not about physical size. And he said, not only am I going to do that, he said, I'm going to do it from inside a yellow Pringle sweater. You know?
Even though he's like the baddest villain, there's something like just horribly lovable about him as well, you know.
When I read the script, I felt like I'd met him many times in different pubs in Scotland. That there's a small angry Scotsman prowling around most towns, you know.
Renton's sex drive disappears while he's on drugs, but comes roaring back when he's clean.
What's your name?
Diane.
Where are you going, Diane?
I'm going home.
Well, what's that?
It's where I live.
Great.
What?
Well, I'll come back with you if you like, but, like, I'm not promising anything, you know?
The producers took a gamble on 19-year-old novice Kelly MacDonald, overcoming her shyness to play naughty Diane.
Are you your flatmates, like?
Flatmates? I must remember that one.
We wanted this girl who you just didn't know whether she was, you know, you just didn't know what age she was, you know, in the way that you don't sometimes. And, you know, she's alarmingly underage.
She picked up millions of admirers, you know. I felt very protective of her everywhere we went.
Despite sexual thrills, Renton finds life is more fun when he's high, so he's soon back on the Skag. Creating believable drug scenes was crucially important to the team, who enlisted the help of ex-users from Glasgow's Carlton Athletic Recovery Group to make it look good. Or bad.
They did a lot of what they call cookery classes, which was learning to brew up heroin, you know, from this fantastic group of people they met.
We each got our kit, and they would show us exactly how to make heroin, and our difference was instead of using heroin, we were using cocoa powder. It was basically like the generation game, actually.
Like Bruce Forsyth walking behind us saying, oh, that's good.
Well, that's good, very, very good.
And I got an excellent. I was really pleased.
So it was kind of weird.
Would sir care for a starter? Some garlic bread, perhaps?
No, thank you. I'll proceed directly to the intravenous injection of hard drugs, please.
Renton goes to increasingly desperate lengths to afford his expensive visits to Mother Superiors, the location of one of the film's darkest moments.
Alison, please!
Very often, you know, in scenes we had needles all over the floor, and it was horrendous, but it had to feel like that, and that was the point, you know, in order for that horrendous thing to happen there, you know, for the baby to die in that place.
Danny'd asked that we not rehearse it, just go in and do it. And it was genuinely shocking. None of us had any clue that that's what we were going to see.
I'm cooking up.
First, it makes people feel great, and that's why people take drugs, you know. But also, the film depicts exactly where it takes you in the long run.
Where it takes this junkie is a near-fatal overdose with hallucinations that challenge the filmmaker's tight budget.
It was so simple, it was ridiculous. It was just a big daft carpet and on a raised platform with a little guy at the back going and pulling things. It's the combination of the image, Ewan, and the music, and it kind of sums up Trainspotting.
Perhaps Cyril would like me to call for a taxi.
Renton's parents take control, getting their son off heroin the only way they know how.
The characters of Mr. and Mrs. Renton were people that were completely confused by what was going on in those young people's lives.
It's a clean break this time.
You're staying here where we can keep an eye on you.
I appreciate what you're trying to do, I really do, but I just need one more score, like...
What is the right thing to do, you know? Do you lock him up? Is it tough love? Is it soft? What is it, you know?
I need one more fucking egg!
The cold turkey scenes may have answered Trainspotting's soft-on-drugs critics, but they weren't easy to create.
Danny and Brian Tufano, the cinematographer, were doing some extraordinary things with the camera that I wasn't really experienced enough to realise at the time.
There's certain things that you think, I don't care what anybody says, we're doing that. So for me, the baby walking across the ceiling was like, I'm not leaving here until we've done that.
Danny just wanted to do more and more and more and more. And obviously, all film directors are perfectionists, but ultimately we sort of said, we've got to stop now, and it isn't really any good.
We talked about, oh, let's put the ceiling on the floor and do it upside down, but I can never get my head around things like that. I said, no, let's do it up there. And anyway, they went up there and wired it along.
It was, a man going like that with a couple of sticks.
It does look a bit pants, but I loved it, actually.
We all thought it looked terrible, but, it still works. I think I've still got that baby somewhere.
The horrors continue even when Renton cleans up. AIDS was a depressing reality that the filmmakers didn't shy away from, and when Tommy starts injecting, he becomes a victim of the virus.
I'm sorry, Tommy.
Got any gear on you?
No, I'm clean, man.
Ultimately, he realises that the only way he can get rid of this habit is by getting rid of these friends.
The action moves to London, where Renton goes to escape temptation. But Tommy's funeral takes him back home, and the gang drags him into a drug deal.
2 kilos. What is that, 10 years? Mikey Forrester, Russian sailors. What the fuck are you boys on, eh? Spud, you've already been to jail. What's the deal? You like it so much you want to go back?
I just want the money, Mark.
They head to London to do the deal. In an echo of Shallow Grave, Keith Allen is cast again as a London gangster with another bag of money.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'd just like to say it's been a real pleasure haggling with you.
Fucking brand new, by the way.
The ending of the film was a work in progress at the time. And they were leaving their options open as much as possible.
By the way, see when I get back?
Halfway down the street with the money.
Fucking kill me.
I thought you might, Franco.
The bag of money is the spark that ignites the fire that's the end of the friendship. Renton steals a bag of money in a way to deliberately cut himself off from his past, It's just a betrayal. That's what he wants to do.
It was about betrayal and greed and the destruction of great friendships.
I love that moment when Renton leaves with the money and Spud's awake watching him. There is a connection between them, which goes beyond that tight circle that they're in with Begbie and Sick Boy.
He can never go back to Edinburgh after that.
There was always a feeling that I'd sold out. I think it was my idea that he should leave some money for Spud, and that was very Hollywood, I think.
They're making this thing that they knew they had to balance, and commercially it was a real uphill struggle to make a commercially successful film about heroin users. And they were very nervous about making a film that people would actually go to the cinema and see and enjoy and go away feeling like.
Leaving the money at the end for Spud in the locker was something that Danny added on the day, and I think it's really